Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Haribol. Thank you, Pinky. Okay, so we are now going to continue our reading and discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Like to welcome everyone for coming this morning. Okay, there you go. All right. So, Pinky, where did we stop? Or is it saan na tayo sa Bhagavad Gita?
I think we're in text 52, sir.
Yan ba?
Yes po.
That is still chapter 2, no?
Sir, yes po.
Chapter 2. Go ahead, Pinky. You may read that.
Okay po.
Next reader will be Mr. Praveen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Text 52. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport. There are so many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities. Even though an experienced Brahmin, Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, O Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty Krishna, and the enemy of Kamsa. And thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer, 3 times a day, taking a bath early morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in the revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the of Sabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and the Upanishads. Haribol po.
Haribol, thank you very much, Pinky. So in this particular verse, okay, Krishna tells Arjuna that this worshipping of forefathers or worshipping of the demigods, engaging in all kinds of penances, etc., is actually automatically achieved when one is engaged in devotional service to Krishna. So the key to spiritual success really is to come to the point of redeveloping your loving relationship with Krishna. Okay. Once you have achieved that, once you have achieved that, automatically all the uh, responsibilities of somebody who tries to achieve liberation, or somebody who wants to go to the heavenly planets like this, who wants to be self-realized, is automatically achieved. You don't need to separately do that. A person can just simply serve Krishna as instructed by the spiritual master. So the key to spiritual success really is to follow uh, the instruction of the spiritual master. Bona fide spiritual master is actually the representative of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we can all see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us a secret. It is actually an open secret. It is not really a secret. It's not a closed secret. It is an open secret for anyone to follow, and that is Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Yeah. So engaging in devotional service is part of Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, and therefore, your responsibility to offer uh, oblations and offer worship to the demigods is automatically achieved. You don't need to do that anymore. Krishna is the supreme personality of God, and once you have achieved your loving relationship with Krishna, that is the goal of life. That is the goal of real yoga. Yoga means to link yourself, reunite with Krishna. So once you do that, um, everything is everything uh, is achieved by way of spiritual practices. Okay? So next reader tayo. Mr. Praveen, would you like to read the next text
Yes,
53?
yes, sir. Text 63.
Thank you.
Hari. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Ved, and when it remains fixed on the trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport: to say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Ved, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master.
Yeah.
Haribol.
Haribol, Mr. Praveen, thank you very much. So here, specifically, Krishna tells Arjuna that simply by engaging in devotional service, simply by chanting the holy names, um, engaging all his activities to uh, for the pleasure of Krishna, is the ultimate goal. Yeah, you don't need to um, try to be pleasing to the demigods, or try to engage yourself, in trying all sorts of exercises in order for you to come to the point of samadhi, because real samadhi is understanding the three aspects of the absolute truth. The three aspects of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, um, is automatically achieved. In other words, when you have devotional service, when you have developed your loving relationship with Krishna, uh, you have actually perfectly achieved Brahman realization. What is Brahman realization? Brahman realization is the realization that I am spirit. I am spirit. I am not matter. Okay. I am part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Spirit. And, my natural position and function is to be engaged in the loving service of Krishna. So when you understand your position and function to be a servant, okay, be a servant of Krishna, automatically you are a Brahman. That's automatic. You don't need to practice that separately. No need. And automatically also you realize that Krishna in his all pervading aspect, okay, in his um, uh, multifarious expansions, you are able to actually understand that Krishna is present everywhere, that he is within each and every living being, and he is actually within each and every atomic particle. So that is something that most yogis would like to have. So those yogis, so-called yogis, that want perfection, or trying to search for self-realization, yeah, they actually practice that separately. They try to go to the mountains and meditate there without any distractions, etc. And try to meditate there for years on end, years and years and years and years on end. And some of them, even after meditating to the Lord within the heart for many, many, many years and even lifetimes, okay, won't come to the point of devotional service. They're able to see Lord Narayan in the heart. They're able to perceive Krishna in the heart. But as far as developing their loving relationship, it's a personal relationship with Krishna, may not take place. May not. Yeah. So three aspects of the absolute truth includes Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the name of God in the Vedas pertaining to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So Bhagavan. So that is called Samadhi. Samadhi means that a person is completely transfixed, no, his to his loving relationship with Krishna. He is 101% embracing the Lord. in loving thoughts and remembrance of Krishna. That is samadhi. You can have samadhi um, realizing Brahman. You can have samadhi realizing Paramatma. But the complete realization of samadhi is when you're able to actually realize your personal loving relationship with Krishna. So that's why yoga means to get linked to Krishna. Yoga means that you uh, have a direct loving relationship with Krishna as instructed by Guru Dev, Nitai Gaur, and Krishna himself, you know. So when you try to look at it closely, spiritual life is actually very, very simple. Very simple. You don't need to hurt yourself. You don't need to like in Tagalog, it's called, huwag mo na pahirapan ang sarili mo. Masyado. Physically and mentally. You don't need to exert extra efforts to try to physically and mentally remember God like this. No. You just simply engage in devotional service. Okay? Follow the instructions of the spiritual master. That is the easiest way. The easiest way. Chanting the holy names of Krishna. Okay? So let's continue our reading. Alidet, can you please read?
Haribol, yes po.
Go
Haribol.
ahead.
Lang po. Text 54. O Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? As there are symptoms of each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks, for speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly a well dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptoms of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follows as stated below. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Alinet. So Arjuna actually uh, asked a question to Krishna. Sinasabi niya, Krishna, what is the nature of somebody who has achieved self-realization, who has achieved um, samadhi? What is his nature? How does he worship? How does he eat? How does he walk? How does he speak, etc.? He wanted to find that out because Arjuna actually represents all of us. No, Arjuna here was arranged by Krishna to um, not know anything about spiritual life. So whatever Arjuna is asking is actually um, our own thoughts and our own desires, our own intentions in life. He represents us. Mhm. Arjuna represents us, actually. Although Arjuna, being a direct um, friend, yeah, and disciple of Krishna, is considered to be a pure devotee of Krishna, but Krishna arranged it so that uh, by his Mahamaya, okay, uh, he was put into ignorance so that whatever questions will arise uh, by him as a conditioned soul. We are all conditioned souls, by the way, in the material world, conditioned souls. So whatever questions he may uh, face is mirrored to all of us, to all of us. Yeah. So he wanted to find that out, and we wanted to find that out also. We want to find how Krishna engages himself, uh, or or how a person, a pure devotee of God, engages himself into any types of dealings in the material world. Yeah, so that Krishna can explain to him that this is that, uh, um, so he will be able to really understand what uh, what a man of God is, his character, his qualifications, etc. Okay, so uh, and it is also described here just as a diseased man, somebody who is ill, somebody who is physically sick and is complaining about certain bodily aches and certain organs not working properly in his body, may have a symptom, may have a a daily symptom of what he has. Similarly, when a person is rich, for instance, a very rich and famous guy, he has his ways, he has his symptoms. So madali lang, you are able to actually see what uh, disposition he may have in life, his his different nuances. He is One is able to actually this is him, like this. Yeah, it's very very easy to pinpoint his quality by his symptoms. Okay, so gano'n lang din yun. Gano'n lang din yun. In spiritual life, Bhagavad Gita says that a spiritually charged person, or somebody who is considered to be a pure devotee of Krishna, they have different symptoms also. And the following verses, we can get to see these symptoms. All right. Let us continue our reading. Maybe Shani will read.
Haribol, sir. Haribol.
Haribo, Shani. Mm.
Text 55. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, O Parata, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Purport. The Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendentally situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving Supreme Lord. Haribol Namaste po.
Haribol, thank you. Thank you very much, Shani. So Krishna is actually giving the symptom of somebody who is transcendentally situated in devotional service. The first thing here that is discussed is that automatically he is able to control his senses. He is able to control the demands of his mind, the tongue, the belly, and his sexual organs. Straight kasi yan eh. Mind, ganyan, tapos papunta rito, until sa baba. When you're able to actually control this properly, then you're transcendentally situated. In other words, uh, first thing to see if a person is transcendentally situated is by way of his activities. His activity is actually uh, focused on serving and pleasing Krishna and the spiritual master. Pag nakita mo yung tao ganyan, when you get to see a person, that means having those kinds of quality, that means that he is transcendentally situated, you know. But of course, this is easier said than done, because a person may try to fool himself, may try to pretend that he is a devotee of God by wearing like holy clothes, and and speaking in a manner by which he is seen as a holy man, like this. So it all depends on one's heart and one's consciousness, because spiritual life really is about what type of consciousness you have. You may pretend to be a devotee of God, but your mind and your senses is always engaged in sensual gratification, like this. Then you have not achieved uh, perfection. You have not achieved a situation where you're transcendentally situated. So, in spiritual life, first and foremost, according to this verse, you have got to uh, control the demands of your senses, the demands of your mind. Mental concoction actually is is uh, is is seen to be the cause of failure. You fail to engage in devotional service because the mind, you try to identify yourself with your desires, you try to identify yourself with your mind, no, uh, when in fact you are not the mind. When we follow the instructions of the spiritual master and engages oneself in the loving activity of Krishna, it will surely have an effect in one's character, in one's consciousness. Meaning, when a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is always happy. He is always transcendentally situated. He is always looking for ways how to engage more and more and more in trying to please Krishna. This is his natural mindfulness. It becomes second nature to him to find ways and means to always engage in devotional service, and always he's thinking of himself as not a great soul, but always thinking of himself as, I am very contaminated, Lord. I don't have love for you. I struggle in this life. Therefore, I pray, Lord, please help me in my attempt to serve and please you. Yeah. That is the consciousness of a person who has achieved uh, transcendental perfection. You can see it immediately. Yeah. And because you have that kind of consciousness, you're always happy. Deep within, you're always satisfied. You're always tasting the nectar of loving Radha and Krishna. That's automatic because you're tasting a higher taste, a higher pleasure. When you're tasting a higher pleasure, automatically the pleasures of this world becomes uh, very um, uh, unattractive. It doesn't attract you anymore. But such consciousness, we have to be very, very worried. We have to very conscious because once once a person becomes puffed up, you know what puffed up means? Puffed up means once a person becomes proud of himself, proud of his achievements in spiritual life, like this, and he begins to like criticize others like that, this and that you are not as pure and I am pure, etc. You try to glorify yourself like this, then that is actually the opposite of transcendence. But the tendency is always there. The tendency of trying to enjoy sensual gratification is always there. Just like, many, even advanced devotees, some people may say, aren't you attracted to, you go to when you go to for example, uh, a big party and there's so many foods there, and you get to see different kinds of foodstuffs. Actually, when you get to see these different foodstuffs, the mind starts to uh, think, I tasted that before. I know that it is yummy. For instance, barbecue, no? Uh, the reason why we are not engaged in eating animal meat barbecue, it is because we are tasting a higher taste. So nawawala na yung attraction natin for that. But it doesn't mean that you don't, for an instance there, for a moment, you did not think that, ano kaya kung kainin ko yan? Like that, what if I just taste it again? Because the sensation is actually locked in your mind, because the mind is a repository of all kinds of our activities and experiences in the past. Yeah, you get to see sexual objects. You get no immediately, parang because you have tasted that in the past, you experienced sensual pleasure in the past. Yeah, the mind begins to act. What if? What if? Like that. But a devotee of Krishna transcends that. He transcends it. Why? Because he's experiencing a higher taste of love for Krishna. So what prevents him from engaging in those sorts of activities, is his relationship with Krishna. So in devotional service, in spiritual life, we really have to always be aware and conscious of our relationship with Krishna. That way, that desire to love Krishna remains always in the hearts of devotees of Krishna. Ayun, baka may nagtatanong, sir, bakit ganon? Like, the longer I chant, I've been chanting for like 10 years already, why is it that, I still hunger for sensual gratification? Why is that? Sometimes one may ask that question. Nag-chant naman ako. I do all kinds of devotional service, pero, why is it that I still are attracted to sense pleasure, sensual enjoyment? The question, the answer is this. The answer is that it's either you're not following strictly the four regulative principles, okay, or you have committed an offense against Krishna, against great devotees of Krishna, against your spiritual master. Offense is what makes it difficult for a person to advance in spiritual life. That's why when you're a devotee of Krishna, you're always um, worry or conscious of committing an offense. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is actually a book known as the Nectar of Devotion. It is specifically said there the 10 offenses against the holy names. Because you may be committing an offense against the holy names by these different activities. Yeah, one of which is engaging in offenses, even at the strength of the holy names. That is a great offense. You're committing an offense at the same time, you're chanting the holy names. You're singing at the same time committing an offense. This is actually a great offense. And the greatest of all offenses is what is known as the elephant offense. The elephant offense means that you have actually come to a point wherein you have offended a pure devotee of Krishna. You have offended uh, somebody, for instance, wants to have a relationship with Krishna, and you stopped it. You stopped it. That is also considered an elephant offense. So there are many offenses that we must avoid when we engage in devotional service. Yeah. Always, that's why a devotee of Krishna always in a prayerful mood. He doesn't think of himself as great. He doesn't think of himself as an advanced devotee. He doesn't think of himself as better than others. In fact, it's the opposite. He always thinks that he is the lowest amongst the low. He always thinks that I am a great sinner rather than a devotee. Krishna, I am a great sinner, you know. With this kind of attitude, with this kind of mindfulness, a person may gain the mercy of Krishna and the Gurudev. Yeah. You may have some questions, but later na lang. Let's continue reading. Mm. Who wants to read? Amanda, would you like to read?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead,
Text.
Mandy.
Thank
ahead.
you. Text 56.
Yes, one who is not disturbed.
One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is not elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. But also, I need help, please. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, it's all right. Just continue reading in English.
As mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. Is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudev is everything. He has called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, He is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. A Krishna-conscious person is always steady in his determination. Namaste, sir.
Namaste, Amanda. Thank you very much. Actually, many of the devotees of Krishna can actually relate to this verse uh, on the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna himself. Yeah. Most of the time, even devotees, they get so disturbed when there is some discomforts that happens to one's life. For for instance, you find yourself in a very difficult situation materially or financially. You find yourself in a very difficult situation, and you begin to ask Krishna, why me? I've been trying to please you. I've been trying to engage devotional service, and yet I am falling into this hole of misery. Why is it, Krishna? So sometimes even devotees they get confused. Is this a test by Krishna, or what is this? You know, is this something that Krishna arbitrarily makes me suffer like this? We begin to ask these questions. But a devotee of Krishna transcends all of these so-called dualities of life, happiness and distress, etc. When you get into a distress situation, you always question the wisdom of Krishna. But a devotee of Krishna is transcendental to these dualities. You may suffer, or you may experience discomforts, or you may experience um, something that is not very pleasing to yourself, okay? Or you may experience some kind of joy materially, etc., like this. He is not concerned about that. His only concern is, how can I serve Krishna always? So despite my what you will call this, despite my the problems that I'm facing at the moment, really, for a devotee of Krishna, uh, all of these so-called problems, as far as a devotee is concerned, he sees this as a blessing and mercy coming from Krishna. He sees everything that is happening to him as mercy and blessing. Lord, I may not be able to understand this, Lord. I may not be able to understand this because I find it very difficult to conceive why I am suffering like this. Why I am put into such heavy situations. You might think like this, and it's natural for a person to think like this. That's why there is spiritual life. That's why there is devotional service, so that you may be able to transcend it. Transcend means to get uh, away from all this, to escape from this type of mentality. And then all of a sudden you get to have good karma. You get to have some very comfortable situations in life, and at the same time, a person, even a devotee, will even jump for joy. Wow, this is good. This is a blessing coming from Krishna, etc., etc. But actually, the Bhagavad Gita tells us to be transcendental to all of this, to never get distracted in our service to Krishna by way of good karma and so-called bad karma, because both are the same. Both can make it so that you will remain in the material world, suffering birth and death uh, almost eternally, because that is the dualities of life. A person must always think that whatever happens to him, maybe good situation or bad situation, these are all there uh, because Krishna wants me to love him more and more, you know. Good karma or bad karma is seen as a mercy and blessing from Krishna. That is the consciousness of a devotee of Krishna. Ganun pala yun, sir. Yes. Because all the activities that we do here in this world, we are partially getting cleansed. Partially, we're getting cleansed when we experience bad situations in life. We are being cleansed already. When we experience good situations in life, that is also partly being cleansed. So both good and bad uh, is a material situation. It is actually a material situation. We have to transcend that and engages ourselves with what is known as uh, spiritual goodness. Spiritual goodness is neither good karma or bad karma. It is because it is pure goodness. There is such a thing as pure goodness. So the activity of a devotee of Krishna, because his mind is just focused on on serving and pleasing Gurudev and Krishna, yeah, he and he alone can be considered selfless. Selfless, because his main concern is how to please Krishna. It is never how to please myself, because the duality of life is centered around uh, a person thinking himself as the center, the central enjoying figure. A devotee of Krishna never thinks of himself as the central enjoying figure. It is always Krishna, 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 Krishna. So sometimes, if we are not yet into this position or into this level of devotional service to Krishna, we can only pray to Krishna. Krishna, I know that I am unworthy. I'm undeserving. Please, Krishna, please help me. Please give me spiritual strength so that I can serve you more each day. Yeah, that is the prayer of a devotee of Krishna. It is very important in spiritual life, actually. And it's, like, sir, sometimes I just cry it out. It's okay to cry it out, no problem. You know, Devotees cry also. They see themselves as very unworthy. They see themselves as very sinful. I'm a very sinful soul. I'm not worthy to even engage myself in devotional service like this. Sometimes they cry. They cry like this. They um, um, they ask for help from Krishna. And that is very, very good activity. Okay, so we have come to the end of the class. If you guys have questions, you may do so. You can write it down on the comment section, or you can use the mic to ask. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Walang question? Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No questions? If there's no question, we can go ahead and chant. Chaitanya Dasi, are you there? Haribol? Can you lead the kirtan, please?
Yes, Harpo.
Okay.
Please let me know if the guitar is too loud. I think it was too loud before.
No, it's okay. Your
Okay.
mic is good.
Okay. Namaste,
Your sound
everyone.
is good. Uh,
Okay, Harpo pa.
7 to 8 minutes, please.
Okay.
Haribo.
Sorry. Namaste Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Sweet Krishna, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Sweet Krishna, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Sweet Krishna. Haribo, Namaste.
Haribol, thank you very much, Tanya.
Take care, Haribo.
Thank you very much. By the way, Tanya is my daughter who lives in a different city. Okay. So I'd like to thank
Namaste, everyone.
our
If you're wondering what I
Tanya.
look like. Haribo.
Um, I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Pinky. Thank you very much, Pinky.
Haribol, Haribol dance.
Haribol. As well as, of
Please say
course,
to Chaitanya Dasi and everyone else, Krishna Dasi.
as
Haribol.
well as Janner and his family, his mom Mina and brother Kalkidas. Maraming salamat sa inyo, Janner, for your assistance as always. Thank you.
Salamat, sir. Hare Krishna.
Don't mention it. Yeah, so I'd like to also thank Sharni for coming.
Haribol, sir. Haribol, everyone. And thank you for the nice kirtan. Chaitanya,
Thank you.
that's a very good one. Haribol.
Haribol. Haribol. Mr. Praveen, thank you so much for coming.
Maraming salamat po.
Wala naman, Mr. Praveen. Mandy, thank you very much, Miss Amanda.
Thank you
For
for
your
having me, sir. Haribol, namaste.
Haribol.
Salamapo. Is that right? Salamapo?
I hope you're feeling good.
I am. Thank you, sir, for today. Thank you very much.
Gaya Krishna. Bien Tanyada, maraming salamat, Bien. Of course, sino pa ba yun? Si Elina. Elina, thank you so much, Elina.
Thank you po.
Yeah.
Namaste,
Haribo,
everyone.
Haribo. And we have Ma'am Ines Torres. Thank you, Ma'am.
Haribol,
Coming.
sir. Thank you po din, sir.
Jaya Krishna. Christian Makilan. Thank you very much, Christian. Okay. So I think I've mentioned everyone. All right. So have a great weekend ahead of you. It's a Saturday today. Most people do not have work, so try to always just use our time uh, developing our relationship with Krishna, with Radha and Krishna. Okay, so I'm going to see you again on Sunday, on Saturday rather, Saturday Bhagavad Gita class. Yeah, be safe and always take good care of yourselves. Haribo, namaste.